How would you feel if you were tasked with leading a nation into uncharted territories, following the footsteps of a revered leader like Moses? This was Joshua's task. Imagine, if you will, standing at the precipice of a vast and unfamiliar land, the weighty mantle of leadership heavy on your shoulders. You're not just any leader, but the one chosen to succeed Moses, a towering figure of unwavering faith and divine connection. This was the daunting reality for Joshua, a man who dared to step into the shoes of the great Moses and take the Israelites into the promised land. Joshua, a name that resonates with bravery and faith, was not just a successor, but a pioneer. He was tasked with navigating the uncharted waters of leadership in a time of transition and uncertainty. The enormity of his task was not lost on him. He was to guide an entire nation, to instill hope in a people who had known nothing but servitude and wandering in the desert for 40 years. Yet, despite the monumental task before him, Joshua was not deterred. He was a man of unwavering faith, his spirit unbroken by the challenges that lay ahead. He was a beacon of resilience and determination, a testament to the power of belief and the strength of the human spirit. His story is a testament to the power of faith and the indomitable spirit of leadership. Joshua, like his predecessor Moses, was a man deeply connected to his faith. His story is a reminder that faith often asks us to step into the unknown, to trust in a higher power, and to believe in our ability to overcome. Joshua's faith was his guiding light, illuminating his path as he led the Israelites into a new era. So as we embark on this journey through the life of Joshua, remember the immense task that lay before him. Remember the courage it took to step into the unknown, to lead with faith and resilience, to forge a path for a people in search of their promised land. Now let's delve into the life of Joshua, a man of resilience, faith, and leadership. Born into the tribe of Ephraim, Joshua, originally named Hoshea, was a young man during the Exodus. Joshua's early life was a tumultuous journey, marked by the great Exodus from Egypt. As a young lad, he stood witness to the miracles performed by Moses, a leader he admired and served as an aide. He was at Moses' side, absorbing wisdom and faith like a parched land soaks up the rain. In these formative years, a significant event occurred that would forever change the course of his life. Moses, seeing the unwavering faith and courage in his young aide, bestowed upon him a new name, Joshua, meaning "the Lord is salvation." This name was more than just a change of identity. It was an affirmation of Joshua's purpose and destiny, a prophecy of the great leader he would become. The young Joshua, now carrying a name filled with promise, faced a critical test of faith during the exploration of Canaan. Selected as one of the 12 spies sent to survey the land, he returned with a report that defied the majority. While 10 spies trembled at the sight of the giants inhabiting the land, Joshua and Caleb stood firm. They believed in the promise of God, a land flowing with milk and honey, and they urged the Israelites not to fear the inhabitants of Canaan. This episode in Joshua's early life showcased his bravery and unwavering faith. He believed in God's promise, even when it seemed impossible in the eyes of others. His courage to stand against the majority, to voice his faith amidst fear and doubt, set him apart. Joshua's early years served as a crucible, shaping his character and fortifying his faith. He learned to trust in God's promise, to stand firm in the face of adversity, and to lead with courage. These lessons were not just for him. They were for all who would follow, reminding us that faith and courage can overcome even the most formidable obstacles. Joshua's faith and courage set him apart, preparing him for the task that lay ahead. Joshua's true test came when Moses passed on, leaving him with the daunting task of leading the Israelites into Canaan. Here is where Joshua's leadership qualities truly shone. Faced with the enormous challenge of leading a nation, he proved to be both a spiritual and military leader who relied heavily on his faith in God. Now let's take a moment to discuss two significant events that highlight Joshua's leadership: the crossing of the Jordan River and the fall of Jericho. These were not just historical moments, they were defining moments in Joshua's leadership. First, the crossing of the Jordan. This was no ordinary river crossing. The Jordan was in full flood, yet Joshua, trusting in God's promise, led the Israelites across on dry ground. It was a miraculous event that echoed the parting of the Red Sea under Moses. This event not only demonstrated Joshua's faith, but also his courage and tenacity. Then came the fall of Jericho. Joshua, guided by divine strategy, led the Israelites to march around the city for 7 days. On the 7th day, with the blast of the trumpets and a great shout, the walls of Jericho crumbled. This victory was not won by conventional warfare, but by obedience to God's instructions. It showed how Joshua's strategic skills were deeply intertwined with his faith. These events underline a key aspect of Joshua's leadership. He was not just a man with a strategic mind and a brave heart. He was a leader who put his trust in God, who sought guidance from the divine, and who was not afraid to follow the path laid out by faith. Joshua's leadership was a blend of faith, strategy, courage, and obedience. It was this unique mix that enabled him to lead the Israelites through many challenges, always relying on God's guidance. Through his unwavering faith and bold strategies, Joshua led the Israelites to many victories. After years of leadership and conquest, Joshua, at the ripe age of 110, addressed the Israelites one last time. As the sun began to set on Joshua's life, he gathered his people around him. His voice, still strong despite his age, resonated with wisdom and authority. He reminded the Israelites about their journey, the battles they fought, and the victories they tasted. But more than anything else, he emphasized the importance of obeying God's law. "Remember," he began, "the journey we've traveled was not just through the wilderness, but through trials and tribulations. It was not our swords that won us our battles, but our unwavering faith in God. It was not our intelligence that navigated us through difficulties, but our obedience to God's law." He urged them to continue to serve God with all their heart and soul. He warned them against the lure of idolatry and the deceit of false gods. He reminded them of the covenant they had made with God, the promises they had pledged to keep. "Let the law of Moses be your guide," he said. "Let it be the compass that points you towards righteousness. Let it be the light that illuminates your path in the darkest hours." In his farewell address, Joshua did not speak of his triumphs or his victories. He did not revel in the glory of his conquests. Instead, he used his last breaths to remind his people of their duty to God, their commitment to righteousness, and their devotion to the law. And then, as the final rays of the sun dipped below the horizon, Joshua breathed his last. His body was laid to rest in the land of his inheritance, in Timnath-Serah, in the hill country of Ephraim. His death marked the end of an era, but his legacy lived on. Joshua's life ended, but his legacy of faith and leadership continued to inspire generations. Joshua's life was a testament to the power of faith and obedience. Born into a world of uncertainty, he rose to become one of the most revered leaders in biblical history. His story, steeped in unyielding faith and unwavering obedience to God, is a shining beacon of inspiration for us all. If we take a step back and look at the broader picture of Joshua's life, we see a narrative of transformation. From a humble servant to Moses, he became a fearless leader, guiding the Israelites into the Promised Land. His faith and obedience to God were his guiding principles, and they shaped his life and the lives of those around him. One of the most striking aspects of Joshua's life was his leadership. His strength and courage are legendary, but it was his faith that truly set him apart. He led with conviction, never doubting God's promises, even in the face of formidable obstacles. His life serves as a poignant reminder that faith and obedience can overcome even the most formidable of challenges. But perhaps the most enduring legacy of Joshua's life is the lessons it imparts. His life teaches us about the power of faith, the strength of obedience, and the importance of strong, principled leadership. It reminds us that with God, all things are possible, and that we too, like Joshua, can conquer our own promised lands. As we reflect on Joshua's life, we see a man who was not only a great leader, but also a devout servant of God. His faith, obedience, and leadership were inextricably linked, each one reinforcing the other, creating a virtuous cycle of strength and resilience. Joshua's story is not just a tale of a biblical hero, it's a lesson about faith, courage, and the power of strong leadership. His journey continues to inspire us, reminding us that with faith and determination, we too can conquer our own promised lands.